All right, everybody, welcome. I have 10 a.m. on my clock, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to today's presentation on digital minimalism, being mindful of screen time. This is a very different topic for me to present. I've been doing, in the past 7 or 8 presentations relating to, food and plastic waste, and this definitely isn't my professional forte, and I have no, formal education in this topic, so that's my disclaimer there. But it is something I wanted to talk about because it is something I've experienced, especially during this year with the pandemic and everything else going on, more screen time. So I did want to talk about a little bit, just being mindful about that screen time as we move forward. And I, as always, welcome comments and participation from everybody on this Zoom room through the chat if you see, if you feel comfortable doing so during the presentation. So first opportunity here, can screen time be, productive or positive? So if you don't mind, typing in the chat, what are some ways screen time or, time on, your phone or your computer, how has it been positive or productive for you during this time or during any time? What are some ways screen time can be positive for you? Let's see what we got here. Connecting with family and friends. Yes, that's a big one for me during this time. What else? I'll just list a couple of my own here. So that's probably the biggest one that has been relevant for me during this pandemic is social interaction or connecting with family or friends. Because during this time, we can't really see our family and friends as much. And so connecting via Zoom or, FaceTime has been a big one for me. Other ways has been very positive during this time. Sharing photos, whether that be on social media or just sending photos back and forth. I put a picture on the right here of my nephew who was born in February, so right before the pandemic hit. And I was planning to meet him in March, fly out there to Salt Lake City to meet him. And unfortunately, because everything was so escalating so quickly in March, I canceled my trip. And so to this day, he's now 7 months old. I haven't met him in person. And that's been kind of hard for me, but we've been FaceTiming, and this is a screenshot from our FaceTime. And my sister sends photos of him almost every day to our family chat. And so that's been really positive for us. And so that's one way I'm spending more time on my phone. It's just FaceTiming and texting back and forth, which is positive, right? Another example, information in general, I would use the example of recipes, more specific. A lot of us are cooking more at home, making sourdough. That was a topic a couple of weeks ago. I'm making, kombucha, lots of other home cooking projects. And so it's a good way to, get some education in things that you may not normally, learn in school, or things that you may not normally have the desire to learn about until you see it on a YouTube video and say to yourself, hey, that's interesting. I'm going to look into it more. So that's a good way to, be productive with your screen time. Similar to that, learning a new skill. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I learn a lot of information from podcasts as well. Relaxing in general. Sometimes you just need time to, look at memes and be silly and do a little bit of that just to unwind, and that's okay too. Laughter related to that. I follow a lot of funny kind of Twitter posts, and then work, obviously, we're all working from home, so that's a way screen time is productive. I did also put another picture here of Animal Crossing, which is a video game I've been playing on my Nintendo Switch, and using that also as a way to connect with my sister in Utah also. So we both play, and so we visit each other's islands, and that's a lot of screen time for me too. I play probably about half an hour a day, which is way more than I'm used to with video games, but it's, again, a way for me to connect with family. So on the flip side of that, when does it become problematic? So where is that line between productive and problematic? If you can name, if you feel comfortable doing so, again, throw it in the chat. When does it become problematic using screen time, too much or in a problematic way? All right, we're a little quiet in the chat room today. That's okay. Too much screen time, yeah, in general. I put a few examples. Yes, before bed, that's a big one. In March, when there was so much news, that I had that problem too. In March, when there was so much news, I kept, refreshing my feed. I still to this day, I'll check the numbers for the number of cases every day, but sometimes when I get bored, start refreshing the public health website. So yeah, so those are examples. I listed all those in my PowerPoint here. Mindless scrolling is a big one. Just really when you're bored, like if you have a few seconds, you'll just automatically out of habit get on your phone and scroll through, and really doesn't really do much other than, you know, it's something for you to do, but it's really nothing you're super engaged in. Too much information. Maybe mention that you can get too much information, too much refreshing, too many notifications. I put this photo here. You know, when you're at work, sometimes you may hear like they call it the phantom ring or the phantom vibration, that you may think your phone is vibrating, or you think your phone is ringing, but it's really not, just because you're so used to that stimuli. Comparing yourself to others. I wrote this because there are a lot of, you know, food bloggers or, you know, bodybuilders or kind of fitness enthusiasts, influencers who post a lot on social media, and sometimes people tend to compare themselves to, you know, I'm not this kind of mom who, you know, makes all these Pinterest worthy creations, or I don't have this kind of body, you know, I feel bad about myself because I don't look like this person. And so that's when it gets really unhealthy, is using it to compare yourself to others, or my life is not like this person's life. Constantly refreshing, similar to too much information. Just always refreshing your newsfeed, even though you've checked it, you know, 5 minutes ago, you refresh it because you want more of that kind of hit of information. Not being present with others. I've seen this certainly with some friends and family. When you're with somebody at, you know, at the dinner table or something else, they'll be on their phone and not really actually listening to what you're saying. Interfering with work, if it's interfering with productivity at work. Interfering with sleep, if you use your phones, you know, in bed, or even right after you wake up when you're not fully awake, but you just want to kind of lie there. It can disturb your ability to get back to sleep or fall asleep in the first place, the blue light from the screens. Safety, I think are all aware texting and driving is a terrible thing. But even, you know, sometimes I see individuals on their phones while walking, which can be dangerous, you know, on the street. If you're not looking at the crosswalk and watching for cars, that can be pretty dangerous as well. So there is a fine line. So this isn't, you know, this presentation isn't a means to, you know, shame people or for using their phone too much, but there is a fine line between, you know, productivity and being positive with screen time, but also using it in a very problematic way. So this is a philosophy I found or definition of digital minimalism that I found from this book. You can certainly check it out. I haven't read it all the way through yet, but it looks like a pretty good book. Digital Minimalism, Choosing a Focused Life in a Noisy World. And there's a number of articles, and I actually gleaned this information from a YouTube channel that I follow about kind of simple minimalist living. A philosophy of technology use, in which you basically focus your online time in selected activities that are optimal and support what you do and support kind of what you want it to, things that you value, but you're missing out on everything else without fear of, you know, FOMO is what they call fear of missing out. You don't have any FOMO, just missing out on the small things here and there that don't really add value to your life. So I've listed in kind of my usual format of presenting 7 ways to practice digital minimalism. And again, they may not all apply to you, and you may not want to practice all of them, but these are some ways I found personally helpful. And I've seen others find helpful in kind of cutting out some of that baggage of digital media and screen time. So one is cleaning up and reducing what I call clutter. So this is where we can evaluate what's most valuable from our screen time. So thinking about, you know, what we talked about a few slides ago, what do you find, you know, valuable with screen time? Is it connecting with family and friends? What do you find most valuable about social media? Is it, you know, getting humor here and there, or is it sharing photos or sharing a message that you have to the world? Do you run a personal Twitter or Facebook account where you're, you know, promoting something or connecting with students for work? So evaluate what's most valuable from your screen time, and then kind of clean up the rest. So for me, it's connecting with friends. For me, it's humor. I posted a little screenshot of We Rate Dogs, which is my favorite Twitter account, which just adds a little bit of humor and kind of smile to my daily routines. I'll just check that account because all they do is post dog photos, and they always get a nice little rating. Nothing less than an 11 out of 10 rating. So, you know, that adds some value to my life. It's the smallest thing, and it is somewhat, you know, mindless in a way, but it's also a way for me to relax, right? And so I keep things like that. Music, right? Spotify or podcasts, fitness apps I keep on my phone. So things like that are valuable, right? And then kind of cutting out the extra clutter. So one of the things I do is I've gone through my phone and deleted apps that I don't need. Most iPhones and smartphones come with apps already preloaded, and I just deleted a ton of them that I don't use. And then deleting or unfollowing your friends or pages on social media that aren't useful to you. A way to do this is to, if you're scrolling through, if you see somebody post something and you can think to yourself, is this person or is this page really adding value to my social media presence? Do I really need to be, connecting with this person in this way? And, you may choose to keep them as a friend or keep, following them, but you also may choose to keep them and also unsubscribe to their page so you don't get notifications or don't see their posts. And that can be a good way to kind of find a medium between, feeling like a jerk for deleting all your friends, but also not seeing all their posts all the time. So in this next slide, I just have an example. If you go on this Facebook, most pages or your friends have follow settings next to their profile page. And so this is a page, I put a picture of this one because this is the blueberry farm that's at Harvard that I have chosen, to keep on my newsfeed. And so I just basically set my newsfeed to see this page's posts first and get notifications when this page posts, so that I know what's going on with their farm. So I know when the blueberries are ripe and we can go picking. And then everybody else, usually I just unfollow so I don't receive updates, or I set my newsfeed to default or off. If it's a friend that I don't really listen to or really talk to a whole lot and I don't want to delete them, I'll just turn them off on my newsfeed so they don't show up at all. And then for family members, I'll turn on notifications. So like my sister, I'll turn on notifications so that when they post, when my siblings post, I get a notification and then I don't actually have to scroll through my newsfeed. So basically when I log onto Facebook, I just check my notifications to see who has posted, and if people I care about post something, I'll look at their posts. And then otherwise, I don't scroll through my newsfeed hardly at all. Another tip, track your usage time, if that helps. I don't do this right now, but it is something I did earlier just to kind of assess how much I was using my phone, and it can be surprising how much you pick up your phone. So you can use this as a way to set personal limits, saying, I can use Facebook no more than this many times a day or this long, or I'll wait at least until 7 a.m. before I turn on my phone or use my phone at all. And so you can use, this is a screenshot of my iPhone. You can use your iPhone screen time settings to change some of this. It's basically go into settings, and there is something called Screentime, and it has a bunch of settings where you can adjust when you can lock your phone for the day. So I have mine locked from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Or you can set certain time limits for certain apps, or this one I have 30 minutes for certain, Instagram, Twitter, and DuckDuckGo, which is my search engine. You can also, if you have an Android or other smart devices, download productivity apps that do similar things, like monitor how much screen time you have or limit how much limit when apps open. So there's a number of things you can play with within your settings to limit your usage time or track your usage time. This one, turn off your notifications. That's a huge one. So you can limit your notifications to whether that be on social media, like I mentioned before, or just on your phone in general. So when you download an app, there's always notification setting where you can just turn it off, and I have mine turned off to just basically silent for everything like emails and kind of things that are not relevant to me like right now. So phone calls, certainly they're not going to be silent, because if they're phone calls, they're usually emergencies, or text messages aren't silent. But things like calendar reminders, I have as a thing, as a note. But things like emails, whenever I get an email, I don't get any sound or any vibration. It just shows up on my email, and I see a little what do you call it, the banner on my phone, but I don't hear things. So I'm not tempted to check my phone every time I get an email because there's no noise coming out of my phone. You can also use the downtime setting. I have a screenshot of this on your iPhone, or there's a similar function in Android as well. I can't remember what it's called, but to disable notifications. So I mentioned 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Nothing in my phone makes noise. And there are things in this app to allow exceptions. So if it's from a call from your favorites or a text from your favorites list of people, it can make noise. Or if they call twice within 3 minutes, it'll obviously ring, because it probably means that's an emergency. So most people who know close friends and family know they'll call if it's an emergency. Otherwise, I don't really check my phone, right? If it's text, it can usually wait. And there are things within your settings that you can kind of play with to allow certain people to call, or sometimes set certain kinds of ringtones. Do not disturb setting, yep, is one. Set ringtones for certain people so that, you know, if I hear a text tone that is this sound, I won't check it. But if I hear a text tone that's another sound, I'll check it because maybe that's linked to, you know, maybe my boss is texting me during the workday and I have to check that during the workday. But if it's a family member texting me, I probably can wait till later, right? So using kind of functions like that to set different sounds or different notifications for certain things. And then this one I like, this is probably my favorite one because it involves a number of smaller tips as well. So adding barriers in any way, shape, or form, whether that be physically or in a digital sense, to your phone or to accessing your app. So physical barrier, put your phone in another room, just put it in another room entirely. Sometimes, you know, I'll throw it in my bedroom and then I'll go away, and then around probably about 8 or 9 o'clock, I'll throw it in my bedroom and then, you know, do a puzzle or read a book in the living room so that I'm not tempted to check my phone before bed. And sometimes I'll hear and I'll be like, oh, it's too far away. I'll just check it later or something like that, right? So putting it in another room, especially if you're kind of sometimes, you know, really lazy at night and just want to lie down, that's a great way to prevent you from using your phone too much at night. And then what I did when I was single, so when I lived alone, is I unplugged my Wi-Fi at night. Not super useful right now because my partner is in school and he uses the internet until late at night. But unplugging your Wi-Fi at night and turning off your data so that you're not getting those notifications or not tempted to use your phone, because again, it's an extra step to plug in your Wi-Fi or turn on your data or whatever else to access the internet. And this one you can use in your desktop or on your phone, but clearing your browsers and disabling password saving so that you actually have to enter your password or enter the website again to access, you know, Facebook or whatever else, and enter your password in again. That's the one extra hurdle to doing it and logging in. So that may dissuade you from logging in multiple times, right? If you have to take the extra step to type in your password rather than having it saved. And similar to that, making it a password that's very hard to type, one that you have a hard time remembering, or just one that's just hard to type, like lots of capitals, lots of letters, lots of numbers, special characters and such, can also dissuade you from logging in too much. Again, deleting apps, only using your browser or desktop for certain apps. So I don't have the Facebook app on my phone. I use, if I need to, you know, my browser, which again, I clear the browser every time I use it. I have an app on my browser to clear it out every time I use it or exit out of it. So I just save Facebook or whatever else that I log in. And then putting apps on a different screen. And with this, I mean with your phone. If you have, you know, all your apps fitting on your home screen, that's great. I usually have mine organized so that's kind of one extra step again to access, you know, Twitter. I have Instagram here, so that's one extra step for me to go into this window to log in and I have to enter my password in again, Or you can also move this screen entirely, this set of apps, to another screen on your phone. So you have to actually swipe right, and you don't see those notifications and the apps so often. So I have, you know, immediate things like Snapchat I use to connect with family, and Signal is my communication app, and Spotify, right, pretty accessible. But these other ones that I don't use a whole lot or don't want to use a whole lot, I put in within smaller screens so that it puts an extra barrier to using it. And then if you just kind of want to do something that's outside of your phone, just a simple alternative behavior. I go through different stages. I think during this pandemic, I've gone through, you know, different stages of doing different other things to keep myself off the screens. One of them is puzzles. That's a big one. That's what I've been doing this weekend with all the smoke and everything else. I can't go outside. I can't go running. I can't go into nature, which is what I did before. We did a lot of mushroom hunting and hiking and camping and backpacking earlier this year, but with the smoke, it's now all indoor stuff. So puzzles are kind of my thing now, and reading. Cooking and baking. I've always been a baker, not surprising. That's a puzzle, a cat puzzle, and a picture of s'mores cookies that I made this weekend. Mushroom hunting again, pets, great. Can't really walk your dog a whole lot outside these days, but you know, just playing with pets. Or if you do still want to use your app or screens, finding alternative apps that are a bit more productive to your life or add some more value to your life, whether it be, you know, a meditation app or a podcast that you like, or brain games, logic puzzles, or things like Jackbox, which is a kind of shared gaming app. You can play games with your friends remotely. So kind of like a virtual game session. So alternative apps that are a little bit more productive, or not productive, I guess, but add some more value to your life. And then this one is some people are a little more iffy about, but just taking a break from it sometimes helps. So We go camping, and I really like camping for this reason. It's just because we can get away from our phones, and there's no service, and so we can just completely cut clean. And there's really no leg room for logging in or just once or twice, or just looking for 5 minutes, right? It's just a clean break, and this really helps me because going a few days without using my phone really just helps me again start from zero. And when I come back and I check my phone and see that I've missed pretty much nothing, and nothing's gone on that I miss, and also I just don't really feel the need to scroll through my newsfeed and catch up with everything that I miss, because I just really don't care. It's a good way to reset myself when after some after days of just feeling like I maybe spent too much time on the screen for a couple days. And then lastly, again, with the notion, we recognize when you do need screen time. So we are in the middle of a pandemic. There's not much to do with the smoke now these days as far as going outside. So recognize when you do just need a break, and you need to watch some YouTube videos or binge watch a show on Netflix, or read some memes, scroll through Reddit, or scroll through Facebook photos or whatever else, see what this person's up to. Recognize when you do absolutely need it, and use it with intention, and just recognizing that, what, it's a part of my life and it's okay to use it sometimes. It does add some value to my life, but that's okay. And don't shame yourself when you do need to use it, because again, it can add value to our life. This is another picture of my Animal Crossing game. Any other comments or questions? That's pretty much all I have there. All right, on Thursday, we have Dawn, one of my favorite presenters, coming back for a talk on self-talk. Pretty good. Thank you.